Welcome back to another episode of the GameTimeCT Staff Pick'ems Podcast. I'm your host, Pete Paguaga, and as always, I am joined by the Sean Patrick Bowley. Sean, how are we doing this week?
I give that opener a C. I think it was okay. How are we doing? We are doing great. I mean, I did okay this week. I thought I did a lot worse than I did. I'm not really. I'm close. I'm a game out, so I can't be doing too poorly.
Yeah, it's been interesting the first 2 weeks. I'm going to get into it when we get to the overall standing so far, but just quickly, week 2 results. We saw week 1, the winners were 5-4. Right, this week we saw a little bit of jump. Myself and the boss man Dan Brecklin finished with 8-2. Sean, you, Mike Fornabayo, and fellow boss man Sean Barker finished at 7-3. Carl 6-4, couple of 5-5s, couple of 4s and 6s, and a 3-7 down at the bottom. Overall standings, myself and Dan Brecklin are tied at the top at 13-6. Sean and Sean Barker tied for second, third, whatever. The Seans are at 12-7. And then all the way at the bottom, and I'm not saying this to pick on Will or anything. Will's 5-14. You jump back to last year at the end of week 2. Sean Barker was in last place at 10-10. So either I'm picking a lot harder games than I normally do, or maybe we're seeing a lot of outcomes that we don't really expect.
Well, let me say, 8-Ball, good job by 8-Ball. Not in this. Usually 8-Ball's bringing up the rear, but Will, I don't know what's going on. I mean, Will, well, in fairness, Will's been out. He hasn't been out at games or anything like that. So maybe he's, maybe he just doesn't have a lot. Maybe he's not reading the previews, Pete. I mean, it's happened, right? It's happened before, but and Lee, we give him a little It'd be Meyer. We give him a little pass because he's new. But
it's just interesting this year, and the worst part is week 3 is not any easier. It's the big second week of the Connecticut High School Football Alliance. We have a lot of crossover games. I think 7 of the 10 games we're picking this week are Alliance games. None of them are easy to pick. So this can go a lot of different directions. I think this might just be a weird year here where we're going to see some very interesting scores. I don't think everyone's going to be over 500 like it was last year.
So we just recorded the podcast, the Meat Grinder podcast, and Pete was trying desperately not to tip his hand here, but I am very anxious. Based on what he said in that, I am very anxious, Pete, to hear what your picks are this week. I am very anxious. So you're going to talk about tough games. Let's see where Pete goes here.
Yeah, I have the way I'm looking at the board, I could either be standing there at 8-2, 9-1, looking like a genius, or all the way down at the bottom because I got way too cocky with some of these picks. But
worst thing that could happen is you and me bringing in the rear, after being, talking all this, all this knowledge on the podcast. And then next thing you know, we're 5-14. That wouldn't be, we'd have to cancel. I'd have to cancel you or me.
The show would be over.
Well, we'd have to bring in the, somebody else. I don't know, like Barker and Brecklin. How about that? They would have to do it.
Oh, they should totally do the show for 1 week.
Yeah, for 1 week.
Yeah, we'll just take a week off. Let's just have them do it.
We need to bring in I would love to bring in a guest
picker. A guest picker. I got some people in mind that I want, but they're really hard to get in contact with. So, Dan Orlovsky, if you're listening, Steve Coughlin, Stanford Steve, if you're listening, we would love to have either of you on the show as guest selectors for 1 week. Maybe we wait for Thanksgiving. Maybe we wait for the playoffs. Maybe we stretch it out a little bit. Maybe get Johnny Marinelli on. Maybe get Jim Mora on.
Hey,
little pickles.
That would be great. Let's start with the guy we get easiest, which would be Stanford Steve.
Yeah. So I'm gonna clip that for social. Because let's try and persuade them very nicely to join the show. Because I'd love to have them on. All right. So Sean, you ready to dive into week 3?
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to start at the NVL. Remember, this is a Alliance-heavy week. We got a couple of non-alliance, a couple of leagues not playing an alliance game, so we're going to highlight them at the top. Right off the bat, we're going in the NVL. We got 2-0 Oxford on the road to go play Seymour, who's 1-1. Seymour's only loss came to Ansonia last week. But here's an interesting thing. Oxford is 2-0 for the first time since 2016, and they're looking to go 3-0 for the first time since 2010. Now, Stock, friend of the program, fellow SCSU guy, got a lot of love for him. But Matt McGuire, who was their quarterback last year, who played really well through the first 5 games of last year before getting injured and missing the rest of the year, is back. He's having a great start to his senior year. I've heard from a lot of people. I know you've heard from a lot of people. This might be the year Oxford gets into the playoffs for the first time. I'm kind of all aboard the Wolverines train here. And Seymour's good. Don't get me wrong. They battled with Ansonia. They played well. It's Ansonia. Seymour hasn't beaten Ansonia the last 20 tries. So obviously, don't look at the records. But Sean, I'll let you go first for this one. The Wolverines got any shot here against the Wildcats?
They got a shot, but I'm going to go with Seymour. I think I've heard good things about Seymour, and they give Ansonia a little bit of a fright before Ansonia did things in the second half. All right, but I like Seymour in this. This is, if you remember, Oxford kids used to go to Seymour, and you had that dynamic. So imagine that team now, Seymour, Oxford combined. I'd love to see it, but as it is now, I'm going to go with the Wildcats.
Yeah, I was long and hard trying to select this game. I love the Oxford story. Just this isn't it right now for them this week. So I'm going to go with Seymour too. TJ Lester, who I know is a fan of this show, is a hell of a ball player. Mike Rossetti, had a great junior year, is playing really well for them the first 2 weeks. I think I like their dudes a lot better, so I'm going to go with the Wildcats. All right, we're going to go to the CTC. We got 1-1 Bullard Havens Kolbe Cathedral Co-op going to Cheney Tech to play the Beavers. The Beavers are 2-0. Bullard's only loss was an alliance game. They lost their opener to Pomperaug of the SWC. I've ranked the mascots in this state numerous times. The Beavers is one of my favorite ones. But man, do I like Bullard Havens this season. Stanley St. Vincent might be the best player in the league this year. Derek Lewis does a great job there. They, had a good year last year. I'm thinking they're taking a step forward. This is a CTC game, not an alliance game. I like Bullard Havens in this one. I'm going with the Bullard Havens Kolbe crossover co-op, whatever their team name is.
Pete, I'm going to go with Cheney Tech here. Team Benino will find a way to get it done. They've been more the established power. I know Coach Derek Lewis has done a nice job here with the Tigers. I think you're right. I think they're going to be a force, but I'm kind of feeling Cheney right now. I'm kind of feeling that this is going to be theirs. It's going to be it is at Cheney, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the home team here.
All right. Go Peeps. All right, we're going to go to the Pequot. Got a nice undefeated matchup from two teams who maybe haven't been 2-0 to start the year in a while. We got Capital Prep Achievement First coming in at 2-0, going down to the Shoreline to play Morgan, Old Saybrook, and Westbrook. 2-0, a new co-op. Big shout out to Kevin Sullivan. First year as a co-op, and he's got MSW at 2-0. I mean, there's a lot of growing pains when you start a co-op. These are rivals. Getting them to buy in early. Obviously, their JV programs were co-opted last year, so a lot of these kids played together. But, I mean, just on the outside looking in, MSW being 2-0, I think is a great story for early in the season. Sean, I'm going to, and not to take anything away from Capital Prep, was having a very good season, very good start to the season, some pretty convincing wins early. But for me, as a reporter, the MSW story it's great. Very great to see.
Pete, it should resonate with you. You're a big Herb Brooks guy. I mean, I'm not calling Kevin himself Herb Brooks yet, but he's certainly got two rival programs to play together, and they're playing well so far, 2-0. They got Nye in there. They're doing well. HK is beating them is no joke, and so far so good. You want me to make a pick here, right?
Yes, it's your turn.
That said, I'm gonna go with Capital Prep right now. I think they're playing exceptionally well. Took their lumps a bit last year. They got shown the door to game, but they're looking good so far. I'm going to go with the Trailblazers. I think they are kind of a surprise team here in the peak one. One we probably should have saw coming. But listen, this is going to be a tough game for both. I would not be surprised if Morgan, Saybrook, Westbrook is able to pull this out. Again, the Shoreline All-Stars, I should say, pull this one out. But I'm going to go with Cap Rep.
So there's interesting two ways looking at this, right? MSW has scored 98 points in 2 games. 98 points in 2 games. Then on the flip side, you look at Capital Prep. They've allowed 14 points in 2 games. But Capital Prep only put 14 up against Crec. Kind of a little bit of a head scratcher. Dominated Valley in the opener. Crec, not a bad program, kind of still building. It was their season opener. So I'm really kind of torn. High scoring offense, good defense. MSW pitched a shutout in their second game. I'm kind of torn here, but I'm going to go Capital Prep. It hurts me on the inside. I'm trying to win a championship this year. I'm trying to keep that trophy home. I'm trying to make less heartfelt picks, but I'm going to go with Capital Prep as well. If you read their preview, you knew they were going to be good, and they're off to a hot start.
I thought for sure you're going to take the heartfelt pick there. You're Mr. Heartfelt pick.
I know, and that's why I've never won.
You don't care, guys.
I want to win. First, if you're not first, you're last. Yeah. All right, we're going to go into our first Alliance game of the board. This one's going first. We got number 1 Greenwich going on the road to Falcon Field to play number 3 Maloney. This game is excitement all over it. I wanted to talk about it early in the show. I didn't want to wrap with it because, I don't know how many people get to the end. So we're going to talk about this one early in the show. A couple of fun facts for this game. Well, fun for me, not fun for Greenwich. But Greenwich is 0-2 in its last 2 years in the Week 3 crossover game. Go back to 2021, they lost to Shelton by 3 touchdowns. And then last year, they lost to Southington in an all-time classic at Cardinal Stadium. Now they're going up to Falcon Field, which I'll say is probably going to be the most intense environment Greenwich is going to play in this season. Falcon Field, they are on top of you. There's no track. If you're kicking a field goal, they're literally 2 feet behind the end zone. Like the fans are right on top of you. It is going to be a loud environment. I don't think Greenwich has played in an environment this year. I don't think they played in an environment like that last year. This is going to be a whole different ball game for Greenwich. Add in the fact that they came out so poorly against Stanford last week. This is the number 1 team in the state, the defending Double L champions. And hats off to Stanford because Donnie's doing an absolutely incredible job there. But you're Greenwich. You're the number 1 team in the state. You need 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns to get past Stanford in Week 2 after coming off a nice win against Prep. This is Greenwich of last year, slow starting. Now they got on the other side, they got Maloney, who comes out firing, throwing the ball all over the place, running the ball all over the place. You can't give Maloney that much time. And Sean, I'm going to do it. I'm taking Maloney. I voted Greenwich number 1 this week because I still think overall they're the best team in the state. But right now, if they play like they did last week, Maloney's going to win that game. I'm convinced if Greenwich plays like they did last week, Maloney's going to win that game. I think it's going to be close, but I think it's going to be a close game. But I like Maloney in this one. They're playing better right now.
Backs against the wall, Pete. Backs against the wall. Pete, I knew you were going to go Maloney. You are Team Meriden, Team Frederick, whenever possible.
I never pick Maloney.
Man, you even picked Platt last week. You will not. It's like Dave Stewart with Darien and New Canaan, especially New Canaan. You just you got it. You love your guys.
I always pick against Maloney. Ask Kevin. I picked them when they beat Xavier. I didn't pick them to win the finals. I picked Shelton to beat them in the semifinals last year.
And so you'll be. I was in your corner the whole way, Kev. The whole way. Here it is, Pete. I cannot pull the trigger on this. I'm gonna go with the defending Class Double-L champs. Maloney certainly will be in the game. Dante Kelly's great. But I think Greenwich got a needed wake-up call. I think they got the dudes up front. They got Bumbleakis. They can sling it when they want to. I think it was just a little bit of them thinking like, oh, Stanford, we got this. Not the case. Obviously, Maloney, they were maybe looking ahead a little bit. That happens. I think Tony Morello will have his guys ready. I think they'll be in a tough one. They'll be in a hornet's nest trying to fight their way through it. But, Pete, I'm going to stick, mind you, with the defending Class Double-L champion, Greenwich Cardinals.
All right. I think that's going to be the best game of the week, personally. All right. Staying in the Alliance, we got 2-0 Bloomfield. The Warhawks are making the trip downstate to Monroe to play Jason Champagne and the Masuk Panthers, who are also 2-0. Now, this is an intriguing matchup, right? We got twins on both sides of the field. We got the Kerr twins. We got the Walker twins in Masuk. We got Darien Foster, who's a 3-year starting quarterback at Bloomfield. And we got, Jason Champagne for Masuk. Both teams are 2-0. Both teams, you could argue, were favorites in their class to win state titles. It's an intriguing matchup. I'm kind of torn as well, but luckily I don't get to go first on this one.
Oh,
you do.
That's right. Pete, I'm going to go with Masuk here. At Masuk, Bloomfield's got to make the ride down. I mean, Masuk is a double M, and Bloomfield's an S. I think Masuk does have the athletes to kind of stay with Bloomfield. I mean, that's going to be tough matchups. Where are the Kerr twins going to go? And then the other side, where are the Walker twins going to go? It's going to be really interesting. They're both twins, right? So it's just really twinning. We have a twinning game here. But I'm going to go with Masuk. Champagne I love, obviously. Bloomfield in these spots, sometimes you kind of scratch your head a little bit. But they've been dominant so far. I mean, it's hard for me to pick. I'm just going to go with the home team here. I'm going to go with Masuk, even without their coaches. If they have their coaches, they'll especially.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Masuk here as well. I think the class thing, that double M to S is a big step. I think Bloomfield's still a really good team. I think this is a great test for Bloomfield. We saw it last year. Bloomfield played Killing in their crossover game, and Killingly beat them. It was, I think, 22-20. It was a close game. And Bloomfield learned from it. They got better, and they reached the state finals last year. So I'm going to go with Masuk as well. All right, we're going to go. This is a game we talked about on the meat grinder. I called this a must-win for one of the teams. We got 2-0 Newtown heading to McDougal Stadium to play the 1-1 Eagles. Now, interesting fact, the last time Newtown played at McDougal Field was the 2019 Class Double-L State Finals. Jack Street to Riley Ward State Championship. It's the last time Newtown played at McDougal Field. Obviously, their opponent was Darien. Their opponent was Trumbull. A lot of those guys have graduated, are playing in college, or functioning adults in the world. But I'm sure that'll bring back a lot of memories for the Newtown football program at that game. This game, I said it on the meat grinder, this is a must-win for Trumbull. Lost in double overtime to Hamden. Played a really close game with Danbury. Again, Danbury's a good program. It's not a knock on them, but this is Trumbull, a team that we expected to have some pretty high aspirations this year, and so far, not so good for the Eagles. They get Newtown's coming in 2-0. Newtown beat St. Joe's in the opener. It took 2 days, but they beat St. Joe's. They beat New Milford. Got a lot of good guys. Haddock's playing well. Our guy Jack Chappa for Newtown playing well. Trumbull's running the ball well. Rowan Johnson's off to a really good start. John Hall's off to a really good start. But man, this Trumbull defense got to make stops. Got to make stops. Got to make plays. And I'm taking Newtown in this one. Unless Trumbull comes out and looks like a different team than they have in the past 2 weeks, then I think if they don't come out looking like a new team, then I think Newtown's got this one in the bag. I'm going with the Nighthawks.
Yeah, Pete, I'm with you. I'm going to go with the Nighthawks too. Trumbull I had you ranked third in my preseason poll, man. They dropped faster than a rock, tied to an anvil. They were, and then we were looking at Danbury, struggling that one too. It wasn't like, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. Maybe it takes a little time for Trumbull to get going, but I'm sure Mark loves the fact that we're going to pick against him. But I have no reason to pick for him. So unless Trumbull wants to show up, I won't pick Trumbull. I can't pick Trumbull. And meanwhile, Newtown actually showed a little fight there. Trumbull showed a little fight. Hampton still lost. Newtown actually came back and won that game against St. Joe. I like what Dan's been able to do there so far. I'm going to go with the Nighthawks.
All right. Moving up to the central part of the state. Staples coming in at 1-1, traveling to Fontana Field to play the 2-0, number 2 ranked in the state, Southington Blue Knights. I circled this game at the beginning of the season. I thought it was a great early season matchup for both teams. It might have lost a little pizzazz after week 1 when West Haven pretty much handled Staples, but Staples came back with a big win over Ridgefield, a pretty dominant win. And then Southington, beat New Britain. You saw them against Wethersfield this weekend. A lot left to be desired from the Blue Knights. Last year, week 3, Southington knocked off Greenwich and became the number 1 team in the state. So, it's very interesting, but then Southington also lost to Trumbull in the quarterfinals. So, this game I think could go really either way. Is West Haven that good? Right? If Staples wins this game, what does that say about West Haven? That might catapult them into the top 2. But then obviously you got Southington. A win here against an FCI opponent will do wonders for them in the poll, and obviously going forward through the season. Staples, Caleb Smith. The receivers seem to look like they took a step forward against Ridgefield. You flip it to the other side. Southington, CJ DeBenedetto, off to a really good start. Threw a couple of picks, made a couple of picks, but his receivers are awesome. Evan Anderson, your boy Williams, Flynn. They got a lot of weapons. So for me, I'm going to go with Southington in this one. I think they are the more complete team. I think they have a lot of different things that they can do on offense. And I think that long drive for Staples isn't really going to help them. Sean, who you got?
Or they'll be in a coach bus. I think they'll be living in a life of luxury on the way up to Southington. Pete, I'm going to go with the Wreckers in this one. You know what? I saw Southington. I think their defense is very good. But then again, they also didn't look great, too. I don't think Wethersfield is quite the team they were last year, if that means anything. Their defense is great, Southington. That's going to be a tough matchup. The offense really kind of sputtered. And maybe it was the Sunday. Maybe it was something to do with Sunday. But, DeBenedetto had a good start against New Britain, threw like 5 touchdown passes, or 4. And then on against Wethersfield, the spark wasn't there. And they have all these great receivers. Even them, they couldn't break free. It took a little Rashard Williams late to get them to make that. Otherwise, that's a 13-20 nothing game. So look, Staples, big bounce back game. I thought Caleb Smith played great. I thought the defense played better. I know Ridgefield is not Southington, but you know what? I think Staples is a lot better than we think because West Haven might be just that good, Pete. I'm going to go with the Wreckers here on the road beating Blue Knights.
This one wasn't going to be on the board last week, and then it jumped up on the board. It got 1-1 Notre Dame West Haven coming into Darling Field to play the 1-1 Hogs of St. Joe's. Both teams lost in the first week. Notre Dame losing to New Milford, and St. Joe's losing to Newtown. Both of them came back with wins. Notre Dame West Haven's win coming against Killingly. I mean, this is a young Notre Dame team going up against one of the best players in the state, Soren Reef. Soren had a good day, but they kind of kept him in check. Don Basti made plays when he needed to, and Notre Dame is sitting at 1-1. So I really love this game. I think this game is a coin flip. I think it could really go either way. And, Sean, you're up first for this one.
Oh, man. Yeah. Number one, Notre Dame can thank Killingly for getting their information of this game onto our website. We got a box score sent by Chad Neal, who lost, and he gave us information about Notre Dame. Well, that's why we were able to know that Basti had a good game. So Notre Dame, let's go. We need to get your information when you win, and you send your information to info@GameTimeCT.com. That said, it's not you're not the only ones, believe me. But that said, Pete, I'm going to go with St. Joseph. I think St. Joseph is better than they showed. They certainly could have won that Newtown game. Notre Dame, West Haven, listen, maybe they're a lot better than we thought they were going to be. We didn't think they were going to be very good. Beating Killingly was certainly an eye-opener. But at St. Joseph, that's a tough spot. I like the Hogs.
All right. I, too, am going to go with St. Joe's. I need one team in Trumbull to make me happy. Now, I'm going to go with the Hogs here. They're both in a rebuilding year, it looks like. St. Joe's played Newtown pretty well. Right now, I think St. Joe's is the better team, so I'm going to go with the Hogs. All right, we're going to move to the Saturday portion of the schedule. We have number 10, hallelujah, finally in the poll, number 10 Windsor, who as of recording is still 1-0 on the season because they play Monday night against Hall. So with this in mind, they could be 2-0, they could be 1-1, but they're heading down to New Canaan, Dunning Stadium, to play New Canaan. The Rams are 1-1, coming off a 45-0 win over Fairfield Ward. These teams know each other pretty well. These coaches know each other pretty well. They've met 4 times since 2011. All four of them have been playoff games, including state title games. New Canaan is 3-1 in those games. Windsor's last win came in the 2012 Class L semifinals. So it's been 11 years since they've beaten them. Pretty sure they've only played like once or twice since. But it's a long drive. Sean, you get to go first for this one. You saw New Canaan week 1. Do you think that they can stay with Windsor?
I think they can stay with Windsor. Not only do I think they can stay with Windsor, I think they're winning this game, Pete. You don't go down to Dunning Field and push New Canaan around, unless maybe you're North Haven. Even then, they won that game. Remember that? But anyway, nobody goes down to, unless you're Wilton, I guess. Well, Windsor's got its work cut out for them. They're still a very young team. I think they beat Hall on Monday. I think they win that game because I still think they were one of the best in the CCC. But going to Dunning, playing this, obviously Benevento is just a ridiculous player. They got plenty at Windsor too, and don't think they have the athletes cover him. But I think he's going to hurt you in so many different ways. I think Canaan, thankfully got their legs under them after playing Ward last week. And Shelton's just a tough opponent. And they were in that game late. They finally woke up. I'm going to go with the Rams in this one. I have a hard time looking at Windsor. They're going to easily go down there and win. No way. I'm going to go with the Rams.
All right. I'm completing my big 3 sweep in the CCC, and I'm going with Windsor. I've been on the Windsor train since the preseason. I've been voting them in my top 5 all year in the poll, and so many people just are not paying attention. I think Windsor is so good. I think they are so athletic, so talented. I'm sure New Canaan might have found their footing in their win against New Canaan, but their win against Fairfield Ward. But I really like Windsor in this one. I think this is going to be, the big step for Windsor as they make a run to a state championship win this year.
Look at this, Pete.
I said,
1-6.
Like I said, this week I'm either going 9-1 or 1-9.
The FCAC lost to the SEC week 1, if you remember correctly. They lost a lot of those SEC.
Anyway, we got one last game on the board. Fairfield Prep going down to Darien. Prep is 0-2 for the first time since 2015. They are on the verge of going 0-3 for the first time since 2009. They go down to Darien to play the Blue Wave, who is 2-0 on paper, 1-0 on the field, coming off a nail-biter against a very good Ryan McMahon team. It took a tippy-toe touchdown at the back of the end zone that was questionable for them to beat the Senators. And now they welcome in Prep, who, by all accounts, I would imagine, is pissed off. Prep lost to Daniel Hand on a close call in overtime. Prep lost to Greenwich, where they hung with them. I mean, it was just, special teams won that game for Greenwich. I'm going first on this one. I'm going to go quick. I'm picking Prep. I think Prep is pissed off, and they are going to come out. I just wouldn't want to play Prep right now. They are so talented across the board. They're just, one thing needs to go the right way, and I think they'll be right back on track. I'm going with the Jesuits. Sean, who do you got?
An annual scrimmage until the Alliance mash them up, because why not have the scrimmage guys play each other? The last year's scrimmage, again, they played the state final in 2021, and they came back to scrimmage next year. They're both terrible. It was a terrible game. So I'm like, when I saw this on the Alliance game, get ready for 7-0. But that said, all jokes aside, as you mentioned, Prep's very talented. We saw they're talented. They didn't bar Maloney. They got the Smith quarterback. They got some dudes, and they are going to be chomping at the bit to get that first W in the win column. First one in the win column. And Darien, I think McMahon's good, but Darien, oh man, I'm sure they're going to be competing. These two programs are very proud, and it'll be very interesting. But I'm with you. I'm gonna go with Fairfield. They're big time.
All right, let's just run through the board first. Oxford, Seymour. We both took Seymour. Bullard, Havens, Cheney, Tech. I took Bullard. You took Cheney. We both took Capital Prep. You took Greenwich. I took Maloney. We both took Masuk. We both took Newtown. I took Southington. You took Staples. We both took St. Joe's. You took New Canaan. I took Windsor. And we both took Fairfield Prep. Someone's got to show out for the CCC. Someone's got to show out.
For Pete's sake.
That's right. Because it's all about the FCAC and the SCC. CCC, this is your time. This is the biggest week for this conference. Put your stamp on the state. Make me look like a genius.
Somebody said to me at the Wethersfield game, CCC, just not football. True words, man.
I mean, there's also like 50 schools in the conference.
And yet they can't find one team that make some moves here against the FCAC and the SEC. Let's go.
Hey, we were all cheering the CCC last year when Southington beat Greenwich and Maloney beat Darien.
What happened at the end?
Mm-hmm. Maloney got to the finals.
They did. They also lost.
Yeah.
So, hey,
Shame.
should be interesting. The gauntlet has been thrown on my end. I'm not with Pete on this, but maybe the CCC will.
I hope so. For my pick's sake, or I'm going to be digging myself a very big hole to get out of. All right. Well, that's another week of the picks. We will see you all out on the field. For Pete, I'm Pete Paguaga, and for Sean Patrick Bowley, we'll see you out there this weekend, and go CCC.
Love you.